Welcome to one of the many circle sessions hosted by Wonder Girls. Wonder Girls is a nationwide classrooms movement. We bring relatable female role models into classroom settings through our circle sessions. As you will see, the crux of these sessions is its dialogic nature. We're currently working with classrooms across 7 Indian cities and continuing to grow. Our aim is for every adolescent in India to have access to relatable female role models. I welcome you once again and hope you enjoy learning from our role models' life journey and career path.
Me too, and listen to how you answer their questions. If you have noticed, like we had too many questions, and we know that we couldn't fit them all in this duration, so we picked a few here and there. So welcome, Mitali ma'am.
Thank you
Uh,
so much, Archana ji.
yeah, welcome, ma'am. And I'm recording this session just so that.
All right, all right. Thank you, Ramji. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
How are you
So
feeling?
how do I? Sorry.
How are you feeling to be here? Have you like met kids like this
Oh,
before?
it's a very odd feeling actually. It's a very odd feeling. So all my lectures are usually related to medicine and diabetes and health topics, and I think even if I'm talking on the radio or whatever, it's usually something to do with diabetes or metal toxicology or science related stuff. As a physician, I have never ever spoken about myself and my life, and it's all very very new to me. So bear with me. I may be accused of using scientific terms all the time. If you don't understand anything that I say, just stop me in the middle. I'll be happy to explain things more simply. But I do get carried away with scientific terms, so I'm at fault already here.
No, we totally understand. And so how we will do this is like we have the question displayed in each slide so that every other kid also knows what is being asked, and the kid who has asked that question will read it out loudly for
Perfect.
everyone. Yeah, so that
Perfect.
does. And because like we have a lot of questions, um I know I should not be saying this, but like we'll try to accommodate how many ever we can. So we have
For
put
sure.
15 like what I've sent you. Well, let's
Yes,
hope that we can cover all of them, ma'am.
we will. We will. I'm sure we will. Another thing, I'm a very fast talker. If somebody has a problem with reception and you need me to talk slowly, just stop me again and I'll talk slowly.
Definitely. Okay.
Okay.
Ram. Yeah. Ashwini, are you here?
Yes, miss.
Yeah, you can read your question, Ashwini.
Which was your favorite subject in your school or college?
This is actually, I think, the most difficult question I read in all your questionnaire, because I really don't remember that much about school and college, but I'll name two, probably in school and one in college. So in school, Hindi, I was very bad at Hindi, and it turned out to be my favorite subject later on. Uh, Maths was one of my favorites. So, although I was good at general science and all of those things, maths somehow continued to be very, very dear to me. Somehow, the logic behind maths was always great. While in college, I think junior college, if you guys will now graduate and go to junior college, I think chemistry remained probably again because there was some maths involved. And then while I was in medical college, it has to be internal medicine. It's just a lot of logic. Everything that's logical appeals to me. Can we have the next
Awesome.
question?
Yeah, next question. Hemashri, you can read your question.
Who was your role model?
Okay, Hemashri, thank you for the question. I don't have a role model per se. I think I grew up like most of us looking at what my mother did. My mother was a doctor as well, and she was also very big on the social service line. She had her own NGO, and she was a well-spoken, well-dressed, presentable lady. So yeah, she was always my role model. I think now as a doctor, I have other senior colleagues of mine who are role models. And I always feel that you should choose your role model as somebody who is around you, who you can approach and talk to, instead of having these fancy celebrities as role models. They're not there to help you. You don't know much of their difficulties. Role models are something who you should know in and out about. So yes, a very, very dear senior colleague of mine, Dr. Shaila Sheikh, is now my role model. She's a very senior diabetologist in Mumbai, and she is an international speaker as well. So in my field, when I want to grow, I look up to her and I try to fashion my thinking on her lines.
Awesome.
That's my answer. Next one, please.
Kushal,
Did you get attached towards any other field like theater, football, or anything while you was studying doctor or you was becoming?
Okay, attracted towards any other field while I was becoming a doctor. So I never wanted to become a doctor. Let's be honest here. I come from a very educated background. My great grandparents were also deans of universities. So, and they were all art students. So we are linguists in my family. I always wanted to do arts, probably get into languages. I also wanted to be the prime minister of India someday, but yes, that couldn't happen. Acting, I'm a terrible actor, although I tried in school. So we obviously had dramatics and elocution and all of those things. I've been part of everything. But I had taken up arts in junior college. Then again, I realized that arts requires a very creative mind. And then finally, if you are a logical mind, science is more your thing. That's when I shifted to science quickly, and then I had good grades. So yes, well, becoming a doctor got to be a little simpler after that.
great. Lakshmi from SGV school, you can read your question.
Did you always keep studying in class or did you also have fun?
Okay. So when I was in school, I was a very, very studious girl. I was always a first bencher, a first ranker. In my house, if you were not coming first in class, you were committing a crime. So my mother was very, very strict about studies. Then as I graduated to junior college, I think life changes quite a bit when you go into college. And yes, from being the nerd of the class, I did shift to having a lot of fun. I was interested in clothes, making friends. College life is very different. So yes, I did a lot of musti in college. I played sports. I played badminton. I played intercollegiate badminton at that time. But yes, nothing was keeping me from studying. I always managed to juggle both. If you don't study, getting into a serious profession like medicine is very difficult. After you get into medicine, yes, you can have it a little easy, and you don't have to come first in class as long as you know what you're doing. So that's when the fun actually begins. But till you reach professional college or till you reach where you're supposed to reach, you really need to study hard.
Thanks for saying that. Yeah, Ram. Kirti from SGV school.
What did you do to achieve your goal?
What did I do to achieve my goal? First, while everybody is always telling you list your goal, I never had a goal. I still don't have a goal. Medicine happened to me. It just happened to me. I went after it because I didn't know what else to do, because my mother was a doctor. So you see, you always see something and then you know what you can do in that particular field. If your mother or father are into sports, you end up going into sports. If you see all the Bollywood actors today, most of their children are following their footsteps. They're going into Bollywood or into business. The understanding here is to know what is your understanding of life in general. You can make your goals as they come. Now today at the age of 37, I think, I don't know how old I am. So at my age, if I am a doctor, I still feel I've not achieved what I wanted to achieve. Now I am trying to do other things. Toxicology is an underrated subject. Nobody knows anything about it in the whole world. So my goal is to make people understand more about toxicology. Then, as a diabetologist, I see that there is a gap. My diabetic people don't know what to eat. They are always struggling with their food goals. So I am trying to build a company where we can make food that diabetic people can eat. So all of these things are still a part of my goal. You never really achieve your goal. It's always a work in progress. So yes, I am where I am right now. I'm yet to achieve my goals.
Sanya, you can read your question.
What skills are required for becoming a doctor? What exams did you write?
Yeah, I think you're trying to become a doctor probably in the near future. What skills are required? Persistence. Persistence. You have to just keep at it. If you're lucky, you'll get through entrance exams immediately. If you're not lucky, you will keep giving them and you'll get there eventually. Persistence is a key skill to become a doctor. You need not be very clever or very studious or any of those things. I have friends who are from absolute vernacular medium schools, Gujarati medium schools, who have cleared their exams after giving them twice and who are excellent surgeons today. Surgeons, not even general practitioners, surgeons, they are specialists. So keep at it. There is no other way of doing any profession for that matter, as long as you know what you're doing. Now, what exams did I write? So, beta, to become a doctor, exams keep changing. You will have some exams this year, 5 years later, you will have some other exams. So when I was studying, when my mother was studying, there was no exam. She finished her 12th standard and she got into medicine based on her 12th standard marks. Now there is an exam called NEET, which you have to give after your HSC, your 12th standard. Or if the new curriculum comes into picture, you'll have to give it after your 13th. When after the NEET, there are also some private exams, private college exams that you can write. They are all entrance exams, multiple choice questions. You have to train yourself to answer those questions because it's not easy trying to learn your 12th standard curriculum and answer MCQs. You can't do it. It's very hard to do it that way. Train yourself. You need not go for classes, but you have to have the right books. Then the private college exams have their own requirements. You need to understand from students who have attempted those exams in the past. Every year, something or the other keeps changing in those exams. So keep up to date with your colleagues, with your seniors. Make friends with your seniors because they are the people who will finally guide you with the immediate stuff. Your teachers are there to help you with the curriculum. Your friends will guide you with the practicalities. Make friends with your seniors. What exams did I write? I wrote the entrance exam at that time. We had an All India private college entrance exam. We had the All India, so it's called a pre-medical test, which I failed. Otherwise, if you have to be really clever to pass the PMT. The government college entrance exams did not exist at that point. We had to go via our 12th standard marks itself. So yes, the year after that, everything changed. That's the thing. You really need to know where your situation is at this point when you are appearing for these entrance exams. Your guides and your seniors will guide you. Next question.
Ashwini, you can ask your question. Ashwini, you're there?
I think she's not there. Okay, I'll just
Yeah.
take the question myself.
Yeah, sure.
So how do I manage family and the intense job of being a doctor? Oh my God, I don't know how I do it. For me, I'm a lot into private practice. So I call my own timings. But for other doctors, it's even worse because if you have a job, if you are on shift duties, and if you have fixed 12 hours or 8 hours of work, it becomes even worse. Now in the lockdown, I've had it even worse. So I had a baby in April. So I had exactly 15 days of maternity leave and I went back to work in PPE with COVID. So yeah, I've gone completely mad. You can see all my gray hair that I have is now thanks to COVID times. Um, Other than that, you can't manage a family without help. You have to have help, be it other family members, be it paid help, whatever it is. And you have to have some systems in place. So you have to have timings in place. If you're with a baby, that's absolutely thrown out of the window. But if you say that, okay, I'm going to get up at 7 in the morning and have my breakfast, please get up and do that, because after that you may not get time to eat. So yes, first look after yourself, only then can you look after everybody else. That's my mantra right now. Please look after yourself, everybody, and start right now. You're like young, make sure you're playing and eating properly. That's the only way you're going to actually achieve what you want to achieve later on.
Yeah. This is also by Ashwini. I don't think she's back. So what are the obstacles or challenges? Ashwini, you're back?
Yes, miss.
Yeah. Go on, you can read. Yeah.
What are the obstacles or challenges that you faced during COVID time?
So we faced a lot of challenges. As doctors, I think we are in Mumbai. Okay, I'm in Mumbai. Now, Mumbai is very, very badly hit where COVID is concerned. We have as many as 1,000 cases every half a kilometer. Now it's a little better, but when it was peak around May, June, July, we were really, really badly hit. The other factor was that all the senior doctors were not on field, so nobody was practicing at that time. Whoever could manage on phone, uh, managed on phone, but the younger people were forced to go on field and work. Now, the biggest challenge I think is trying to deal with patients on the phone, because it's very hard. You can't see them, or even if you're video calling, you can't see really what's going on with them. Examining the patient, I can't examine a patient. So if the patient comes to me saying that he's breathless, it could be asthma or it could be COVID, it could be pneumonia, it could be something else. I don't know what's happening with that patient. So it's just following your gut instinct and treating what you can treat. While at work, while I'm in the clinic, the biggest challenge is wearing a full PPE kit, wearing a face mask, face shield, covering yourself completely, and then seeing a patient. You can't even move your head when you're wearing a PPE. I don't know how many of you have seen pictures of medical staff wearing a kit, but it's hard. It's really hard. You sweat. Your legs are sweating by the time you come out of the PPE. Now, I am wearing the kit for only about 4.5, 5 hours. Most government hospital doctors and staff are wearing the kit for 8.5, 9 hours. You can't remove that kit. You can't go to the washroom. You can't have water. You need water. You're struggling. You're dehydrated. You can't have water. If you want to pass motions at that time, you will take off the kit, have a bath, go past your motions, come back, wear the kit, and sit down to work again. Another factor is a lot of staff are no longer working. So people who have gone on leave are not coming back. So the government hospital doctors have really faced challenging times. They are they're looking after the patients. They're consulting the patients. They're even dispensing the medicines. They're injecting the patients. They're cleaning diapers. They've done horrible things in COVID time. I think compared to that, as a private practitioner, I think I am better off. But yes, I'm worried for my family. When I come home, I am worried. I may bring the virus back with me. A lot of doctors are now taking medication, like a preemptive medication. So you take the medicine before something happens to you. That is actually not allowed because the medicine is toxic. but we're still doing it because if we bring the virus home, we've actually transmitted it to everybody. What do you do then? So yeah, the challenges are still coming on. We don't know what is going to happen. We don't know what is going to happen when the vaccine comes in. If you've read in the papers recently, there was a minister that volunteered to get the vaccine. Unfortunately, he got COVID on the 10th day after the first vaccine dose. It's just sad. We are using a vaccine that has not been tested very often, very much. The test will happen only when we actually take the vaccine. So yes, all of it is very, very hard. That's the reason we keep telling our patients, our people, be safe, make sure you don't meet people, make sure your faces are covered at all times, don't go out. This phase will go, but this is the time, stay put, don't go anywhere.
Harshlata?
Yes. What are the different specialties for becoming a doctor?
Okay, now finally we are on my subject. Thank you, Harshalata, for this. Different specializations. So first thing is when you finish medicine, when you finish MBBS. Okay, let's come before that. When you get into your science programs, you appear for entrance exams. You get selected either for MBBS, homeopathy, Ayurveda, Unani medicine, physiotherapy, dentistry. There are a host of medical subjects that you can choose from. Now, most people for some reason want to choose MBBS, although I feel homeopathy, dentistry, and Ayurveda are also equally brilliant lines. When you get into MBBS, you finish those 5.5 years of training, you come out as graduate doctors, and then you train for specializations. So the three primary trainings that we have are medicine and surgery. Now, surgical branches are also multiple. So you can get gynecology, you can get pediatrics, you can get orthopedics, ENT, ophthalmology, urology. There are a lot of specializations, skin specialty, radiology. So I can just keep going. Post the 3 years of specialization, and if you're in a government college, you will have bonds. You will have to serve for the government before you can go and start your private practice. You have super specialities. So super specialities is something which are niche subjects. So I have a friend who is a pediatrician, but now he's done his super specialty and he's become a pediatric nephrologist, which means that he treats children's kidney diseases only. So if you take a child with fever to him, he won't treat you. He will treat you when the child's kidney has a problem. So it's a very niche subject. There may be about 200 pediatric nephrologists in the country. Now, lately, my super specialization is diabetology. So that is also a niche subject. As a physician, I know how to treat everybody, but my specialty is I deal with diabetic people mainly. I do see all the other patients as well, but I prefer seeing diabetic people because that's what I have studied extra. Other than that, yes, so there are super specialties for every subject. You can do whatever you want and still be a super specialist. You can keep studying till the age of 50 or probably more. There's no end to learning when it comes to medicine. You learn every day. You learn, there are fellowships, you can go abroad. A lot of doctors have gone abroad and come back because, so perspectives are different. When you're in India, you are dealing with tropical illnesses. The climate matters. When you go to Europe or you go to China or you go to Alaska, things are very, very different. Everything changes. So a lot of people go abroad, learn their specialties, come back. Yes, if you want to go and settle down there, I suggest you actually go and study there also, because as a doctor, it's very important for you to know your population rather than, just know your subject. You have to know the kind of patients that are coming to you. So if you want to go and live in Dubai, for example, the diseases in Dubai are very different from the diseases in India. The treatments are different. They follow British protocols. They don't follow Indian protocols. So I suggest you start working towards that end rather than, just being a specialist in India and then struggling to work with those people.
Also, ma'am, I had in the same question, I had the other doubt. Also, If I become which specialist, it will be easy to me.
Nothing is easy, beta. Nothing is easy. So, see, if you want money, if you're chasing money, surgical fields are what give you money. Become a surgeon of any field. You become a gynec, or you become a surgeon. You do operations of hernia, hydrocele, or you become a heart surgeon, or you become a kidney surgeon. Anything, any cutting involved will always give you more money. Another thing that will give you more money is skin. So a lot of skin specialists have treatments. So when there are procedures again, you earn better. Third thing that gives you money is radiology, X-rays, sonographies. If you have ever gone to do an X-ray, you realize now that each X-ray costs you 400 rupees. How much does an X-ray actually cost? 50 rupees. The rest of it belongs to the doctor. Okay, so it's a less low contact field where there is still a lot of money. Yes, there is a lot of investment also. So it's not just money. You have to put in the money and then you get returns. You need machines, you need techniques. If there is input for every output that you are expecting. As a purist, as a physician, so physicians are a breed where they're not thinking about money or any of those factors. Money comes. What we are thinking is, okay, the person in front of me is suffering from so and so problems. I need to get rid of his suffering. I need to make sure that he is understanding what I'm saying. He is able to look after himself or herself. And if required, he needs to be guided to the correct doctor properly. So if I have a patient who comes to me with chest pain can mean 10 different things. Okay, it can mean that his blood pressure has gone up. It can mean that he's getting a heart attack. It can also mean that he's got severe acidity. It can mean that he has lung problems. It can also mean that he slept wrong at night, but his muscle got trapped under his arm. So anything can be a chest pain. So as a physician, it's my job to make sure to understand what is his problem and then guide him correct. Sorry, you said something, not money, but will the doctor be healthy? Matlab?
If we become the doctor, day night we will be doing the surgeries, and the doctors will be like, if we will be scared, and will the doctor be healthy? Like, will the doctor be?
Let me tell you something. Medicine as a field is a very, very demanding field. Doctors are never healthy. The work timings are bad. So when you're a student also, you are working about 36 to 48 hours non-stop. You'll get a break for 12 hours and you'll be back at work for 36 hours without sleep. Most doctor friends that I know have some diseases or the other. They're either diabetic or they have hypertension. From the age of 25, 30 only they have diseases. I have bad cholesterol since the age of 25 and I don't eat a single fried thing. It's not because I have long work hours now, but it's because I had bad work hours when I was a student. That is something that in India will not change. If you go abroad, students are still treated like human beings. So you will work for 10 hours or 12 hours, you will come home and you will get to sleep. In India, you will not get to sleep. There is no sleep concept. So training in itself as a doctor is a horrible thing. Yeah, MBBS 4 years, there is no problem. The day you finish your MBBS and you join internship is the day your sleep time is over. Then you will sleep when you turn 35, 40. By that time, your youth is gone, your interests are gone, your hobbies are gone. There is nothing left for you. So think 100 times before becoming a doctor. It is a calling. It is not something that you do just because, okay, you know what, chalo, I've decided I'll become a doctor. No, that's not how it will be. Again, easiest field to be a doctor, I feel, is a physician, because I'm sitting quietly in my cabin today and I am I'm seeing my patients. I have the luxury of putting in air conditioning, which I did not have 5 years ago. Now I do. So if that PP is more bearable for me. My colleagues who are working in government hospitals are still working with no air conditioning, with bad timings, in full PP, and they're sweating it out. You do have an option of your work hours, but I don't know. Yeah, I think as a physician, someday you will say, no, 5 hours, I'm not doing justice to my field. And you will go back to doing 12 hours. So if some patient calls you at 2 in the night, you will go and see that patient. So there is no easy in medicine, but it's fun all the same. We love medicine. Yeah. Once you do it, you love it. It's your field.
Yeah.
Think about
Ram,
it.
this is also by Harshlata.
Okay.
You can read it, Harshlata.
So yes. So this is the situation question, ma'am. So if suppose a patient comes who is unable to pay the fees, who is very poor, then what will you treat them? Like they're very poor, also they could not pay the fees. Then like they want to do any surgery, and how do you treat them?
Okay. So first thing, Harshlata, and I think most doctors will agree with me. If there is a patient who can't pay the fees, we don't take the fees. It's okay. It doesn't matter to us. Second thing, in fact, if I have a patient who can't afford the medicines also, I keep medicines in my clinic for these patients. So they will have the best of medicines free of cost completely till the time they are able to go. And now we have generic medicines available from the government. So they can buy good medicines cheap also. So my job to guide them. If I have the medicines, I'll give them the medicines. If I don't have it, I'll guide them to the nearest government center and they can get the medicines cheap. Now surgery, yes, that is a problem because surgically, actually the doctors don't charge money. A lot of times doctors will do free surgery. The money has to be paid to the hospital. So nursing charges, medicine charges, all of that has to go to the hospital. If a patient is absolutely poor, I always guide them to the
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Yes, Miss.
government center.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll just give her a minute. Probably her network is bad. We'll just give her a minute.
Okay, ma'am.
Surgical procedures, even in the best of hospitals, at about 10% of the cost that you would have incurred otherwise. So as a physician, that's our job to guide them. Other than that, if they're coming to me and I am treating them and there is nothing else involved, they don't have to pay. So all doctors do a lot of social service. You'll be surprised.
Very nice, actually. The next one is by Kushal.
What type of patients? Ma'am, this was not my question.
Okay, no problem.
Anyway,
you can.
I'll take it. What types?
But I can read, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. Kushal.
What type of patients, rude, polite, happy, sad do you get, and how do you face them?
We get all types of patients. Yeah. So mostly they're polite. They're also very scared when they come to the doctor for the first time. I think usually after they meet me, they're pretty happy. I don't know about the other doctors. About rude patients, yes, I have a lot of trouble with rude patients for sure. just deal with it. Yeah, what difference does it make if they're rude or sad or happy or angry? They're patients. Treat them and send them off. If they're not happy with you, they won't come back to you. If they're happy, they'll come back to you. Simple. Don't worry too much about people. Should never worry about people.
No, ma'am. I mean, how will you face the rude, the patient is not getting well and they're rude to you? Then how would you face them? Like they are telling that we came to your hospital, but it happened like that. They are telling the many more like that. Then how
So
will you
that is
face
a
them?
skill. That is a skill that you develop later on. See, no patient is going to get well the first time they come to you. They have to understand that they are ill. And we are not machines. We are not understanding. We don't have X-ray vision to look into them and treat them one shot and then everything is okay. A human body requires a lot of understanding and a lot of medication to get to 100%. And having said that, you will never be 100%. Okay. Now, if the patient is going to come to us and give us this kind of attitude, either if you know them for a long time, you can pacify them and you can go ahead with the next step of the treatment, or you refer them to your colleagues or anybody else, or ask them if they want to get referred somewhere else where they think they will get better treatment. They are most happy to go wherever they like. It's a free country. But yeah, I mean, it shouldn't demoralize you if somebody comes and says, ki, "Arey, your treatment didn't work. Why are you not treating us? Give us the money back," and all that. We don't worry about all that. Take your money, Baba. We don't need your money. But get well. Make sure that you are right in what you're doing. As a physician, don't be wrong. Your judgment should be correct. That always comes with years of training. This is not going to happen overnight. So when you start practice, you are bound to make mistakes. Make sure you have a senior or a colleague who will take care of your problems rather than you trying to face them and then getting defensive about it. Don't get defensive. It's okay. Happens. It's medicine.
Yeah, we don't know who asked this.
Okay.
Do you get scared when serious cases come to you?
I wouldn't say scared, but yes, there is an adrenaline rush. We are worried about the patient. So I'm not scared to touch the patient for sure. They've come to me because they have some faith in me. But yes, I get scared about one thing, about missing the timing. So if I have a very serious patient who I know if I don't treat quickly might die, I am worried that I'm not doing the right things at the right time. Other than that, no, I'm not scared about very serious cases. I think I'm senior enough to worry to look after them. It's fine.
I think this was Ashwini.
Yes, miss. Why did you choose to become a diabetic specialist?
Okay, now this is funny. I never chose. So after I finished my my graduation, I was not getting a seat that I wanted for my post graduation. So initially I thought, chalo MBBS ho gaya, now I'll start GP practice. Then I realized that, oh shit, all my friends are becoming specialists. Everybody is trying to do surgery, medicine, whatever. So yeah, it was a wake up call to me. MBBS is not okay. Then it was already too late to study for the entrance exams, and I skipped a year in the middle. So of course I interned, I did residency in other hospitals at that time. But then this course of diabetology came into light. So in Mumbai, there is a college called CPS, College of Physicians and Surgeons. So this is specific to Maharashtra. You won't get it in Bangalore. And they have this course called Certification in Diabetology. I applied to a very big hospital in Mumbai called Raheja Hospital. They are very, very famous as a diabetes specialty hospital. Surprisingly, at that time, they were in need for residents. So they didn't ask me too many questions. I just got in, and it was just sheer dumb luck. There was no premeditation to being a diabetologist. If you ask me how I became a physician, My God, I have worked very hard to become a physician. I have given all the exams. I have spent nights and days and weeks and months studying to become a physician, to give the entrance exams. And I think that is a bigger achievement for me. A diabetes specialist, frankly, it's not difficult to become a specialist after you've already done your post graduation. So yes, I didn't choose; it just happened. Good for me.
This is by Muskan. Muskan, are you here? Okay. So she wanted to know who supported you to get to where you are.
My parents. Who else? I think. Well, I would have loved to say teachers, but in Mumbai it's really hard to say teachers. My parents. So my mother passed away when I was just after MBBS, but she was a doctor. So, and I told you she was a very strict disciplinarian. She wouldn't take no for an answer. If you don't come first, you've had it. Like I've spent a lot of time in the bathroom being grounded. So yeah, support wise, when my mother was not around, my father supported me. When I started, it was my father who put in the capital for the clinic rent. The first 6 months of setting up any business or any practice, you don't have money. You just set it up. So that's my father, definitely. Today, when I'm trying to set up my business, my husband is supporting me. So is my father, so is my brother, and so are my friends. So I have a lot of friends who will, just get up and say, oh, you need something, no problem, we'll help you to get where you want to get. And all this comes only when you have given something to people in the beginning. Parents, of course, they are yours unconditionally, but if you've helped people, they'll help you back. You get all the support that you want when you have supported people. It's always a give and take relationship. Be kind to people, they'll be kind to you. So yeah, my parents, I have to say my parents, and now my husband.
Okay, this is the last question by Tarun. Tarun, are you here?
If a person had diabetes, what should he or she do, and what should not be done?
Okay.
How to prevent it?
Okay. So if a person has diabetes, what should he do? First thing, what is diabetes? High sugars. Okay. Why does it happen? There are 8 different reasons why diabetes happens. So if somebody tells you कि insulin come hai, diabetes ho gaya, no. There are a lot of things behind diabetes. Third thing, what should he or she do? They have to be on medication and they have to be on certain dietary restrictions. By that, I mean, so they're not allowed to eat very sweet things. They're not allowed to eat a lot of carbohydrate rich things. I don't know if you are understanding carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. You must have learned that in school. So they're not allowed to eat a lot of simple carbohydrates, but they have to learn balance. Sorry, what?
Ma'am, can you tell slowly?
Okay. So they have to be on a very strict dietary restriction. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are the 3 main categories of food. Now, carbohydrates are what sugars are about. So your chapati or your sugar or jaggery or honey or fruits give you carbohydrates. Proteins are something which are called the building blocks of the body. So they are the reason why you have muscles, where you have muscle strength. What are proteins? So your chicken, fish, eggs, pulses, dals, mushroom, broccoli, milk products, all of this has protein. Fats, what are fats? Your ghee, oil, butter, they're all fats. Your nuts have fats as well. So you may have heard almond oil and groundnut oil. They're all fats. So the patient who has diabetes has to be counseled about what he's supposed to eat in how much proportion. I just finished a lecture about it an hour ago. Proportions are important. So if a lot of patients come to me and tell me, oh, I have diabetes, and my mother said rice band karo. So they stop eating rice. Now, as South Indians, all of you, rice is important to you. So there has to be a balance that you need to maintain. Even if you have diabetes, you can eat rice. You need to understand what parboiled rice is. Remove the water, remove the starch from the rice and eat the rice. Here it's very simple. Also, there is a balancing of meals. So you have to understand you have to eat 25% carbohydrates, 25% proteins, and the remaining 50% has to be fruits and vegetables. That is something that is missing from most of our diets, this proportion of food. And this is not only for diabetics, let's be honest, even us as normal people without diabetes, we have to eat the same thing. So your chapati, rice, whatever it is, has to be 25% of your plate. Your chicken, fish, eggs, dal, whatever has to be 25% of your plate. And your fruits, vegetables, mainly vegetables when you're eating, and salads have to be 50% of your plate. If you're able to maintain this kind of proportion, your sugars, weight, everything will be under control. Now, what should not be done? First thing is, don't ever skip medicines. If you are on medicines, your diabetologist or your physician has given you medicines, do not skip them. Second thing is, make sure that you are checking your blood every few days. So if your sugars are well controlled, you have to be checking your sugars every 3 months. If they are not well controlled, check every week. Tell your doctor that they are not under control and be aware. The third thing that you need to do is make sure that your family is involved. If you're a diabetic person, you are at a risk of having low sugar episodes. You can just faint suddenly. Your family needs to know what to do in that situation. Then, when festivals come, so I have a lot of different festivals giving rise to problems. So we just had Diwali right now. In Diwali, everybody goes crazy and starts eating a lot of high calorie food. What do you mean by high calorie food? Fried food, sweet food, chakli, shave, you name it. Everybody's eating everything. Now, during festivals, you really need to maintain that balance of that 25, 25, 50. If you don't maintain it, your sugars are going to go up. Another problem is when Muslims, I don't know if we have any Muslims here, but when Muslims have that month of Ramzan, they're fasting. They're fasting and feasting at the same time. So they'll fast sunrise to sunset and then they'll feast sunset to sunrise. This yo-yoing of sugars gives rise to a lot of complications. So fasting is something that I don't allow any of my patients to do. And this is something that you need to tell your families also. If you have diabetic patients in your family, they're not allowed to fast or feast. So they are not supposed to go crazy on either extremes with their food. Now, about prevention, that's a very good question because prevention is something that is easily done for families of diabetic people. If your parents have diabetes, you are likely to get diabetes in the future. How do you prevent it? A, you have to maintain a very, very healthy, active lifestyle. So you need to be playing something, running, walking. Although at your age, I would say get into sports. This is a good time to get into sports if you're not already doing it. B, the diet that I just mentioned, you need to maintain as well. Everybody has to be on the same diet. So as a diabetic patient, it's not a punishment for them. If you're able to maintain this percentage of diet, you will not get diabetes to begin with. Third thing, and this I'm telling you as a doctor, don't do what doctors do. Your timings have to be good. You have to get an adequate 8.5 hours of sleep. Your meal timings should be fairly fixed. Have your breakfast at 8 o'clock, have your lunch at 1 o'clock, have a fruit in the middle. So you always, when you're in school, you always have a recess in the middle at about 10:30. Make sure you're eating a fruit or some wholesome snack which has protein in it. Again, at 5 o'clock, have a glass of milk, eat something with it. Don't try to do your homework or your playtime without any food in your stomach. Finish your meal by 8, 8:30 and go to sleep early on time. So this kind of lifestyle, if you're able to maintain, whether you're in school or in the future, I'm talking 50 years from now also, this lifestyle will make sure that you do not get diabetes. Also, if you think that you are going to get diabetes early on, this lifestyle will help to delay it. If your parents have got diabetes in the age of 30, 35, you should be able to postpone it to the age of 50. If you manage to do that, you've done a great job. Congratulate yourself. So planning begins now when you're 10, 12, 15 years old. This is the time when you will start planning about your health and your life in general for the future. Prevent diabetes, prevent hypertension, prevent as many diseases as possible. You'll be able to do that with food and meal timings. All right, I think I'm done talking about this.
Yeah. But
I can go on and on.
good. But it was a good pointer, actually. So,
Okay, Harshalata has up something to ask us.
yeah, Harshalata, you want to add quickly something? She wants to know what is dialysis.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Dialysis is something that has to be done when somebody's kidney fails. Do you know what kidneys are? So they are the organs where urine is formed. Now, kidney failure is very common in diabetic people. So this is something that I can really put light on. When the kidney fails, the person is unable to excrete dirt from his body. So kidney failure is of two types. One is where you're able to form some urine. One is when you're not able to form any urine. Either ways, when the kidney has failed, there is something called creatinine which rises in your blood. When you see a rise in creatinine, which goes up to, so a normal level of creatinine is 0.6 to 1.2. When you see that is going up to 7, 8, 9, 10, I have seen a creatinine of 12, you know that the kidney is no longer throwing out metabolic products, bad products of your body. It is no longer excreting them. That is when you need something called dialysis. Dialysis is a procedure where there is a machine. Your blood is taken out from your body. So usually around on your forearm, there is a fistula which is made. So there is one needle going in and one needle taking the blood out. The blood comes out from one needle, goes into the machine. It's purified in the machine, and the other tube puts it right back into your arm. This is a typical procedure of dialysis. Now, this has to be done depending on the patient's condition 2 or 3 times a week. It's a permanent procedure, unfortunately, for patients with permanent kidney failure. It's a permanent thing. And if you have a patient who is a fairly healthy patient yet is on dialysis, we usually recommend that patient to undergo kidney transplant so that they can stop this procedure of dialysis once and for all. In patients with very bad diabetes complications, patients who have a bad heart or who have had a stroke, these patients cannot tolerate the procedure of kidney transplant and then they remain on dialysis for the rest of their life. It's not an easy procedure, mind you. It's a very bad position to be in. And again, try and prevent this from happening by checking your creatinine levels every year after the age of 25 and making sure that they stay okay for the rest of your life. If you have somebody who is diabetic, you need to make sure that they check their creatinine levels every 6 months because even their medicines can affect their kidneys. And there are some medicines that can cause the patient's kidney to fail. So again, I'm giving you too much information. It's not required for you. But yes, this is the basic procedure of dialysis. And yes, it's not a simple procedure. Be aware.
Thanks. So we are at a 4:57 mark, and we just would like to ask a few kids to kind of share what they have understood and what they like good. And
I'd love to hear that. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Ram, you can stop sharing so we can just see people who want to. Yeah. So you can raise your hand, whoever wants to share their experience, and then we can ask you people to speak. Probably somebody from Kadapa Swami, because I've not heard these kids. Probably one of them first, and then somebody who has not spoken from SGV. Is it okay, Harshalata? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Kadapa Swami, anybody? Yeah.
Ma'am, I learned that how to be confident in life.
Okay, Thanks, Kirti.
Can I tell Miss?
Yes, Maha.
Miss, when I become a doctor, Miss, I learn which ma'am, which what tell we do that one, Miss. I learn what my ma'am told Miss.
Thanks, Maha. Girish?
Miss, I want to appreciate all the warriors in Corona time. Miss, like ma'am also, Miss. When I see as a doctor and she come and helping us, how it will helpful to us in what a daily should do that, ma'am. I want to appreciate her, ma'am.
Thank you, my dear.
Ma'am, another else, I have one question. In daily timetable life, we have some time up and down, up and down. We want to stop that, ma'am.
I can't hear you very well, Girish.
Sorry, Girish?
Miss, ma'am told ma'am, you want to have a timings like breakfast, doing some. In that time, if we are up and down, miss, how can we control that?
Talking about discrepancy in the time of eating, is it like
Yes, miss.
sometimes it happens?
Yes, so sometimes it is bound to happen. Able to maintain it even 4 days a week. That's good enough.
Okay, anyone from SGV
Ma'am,
who
I have
wants
one
to
doubt, ma'am.
yeah, Kirti, can I come back to that? Is it okay? Because like we just want to hear people talking what they learn.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Ma'am.
Yeah, thanks, Kirti, for understanding. Yeah, somebody from SGV who we have not heard who wants to talk about their experience, that'll be great. Ram, you want to ask someone to?
Someone is talking. Yeah.
Sir,
Hemashri.
I like that she was helping for.
We couldn't hear that, right?
Couldn't hear that. Yeah. I don't know who's that, but some.
Can
Yeah.
I say?
Yes, go ahead, Hemashri. I'll just mute the other person.
I was very happy. Like all the speeches was exactly matching to my grandfather and grandparents. Even they was suffering from diabetics. So, like what to follow and all. It was really good speech.
Are then you should attend some of my other lectures. I'll give you a lot of information.
Miss, do not give this, miss, please, miss. Do not give that. It's bad, miss.
Sorry?
Miss, do not give the listers to Archana, miss.
Do not? I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you properly.
Miss, ಕೇಳಿಸಿಲ್ವಾ miss?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳ್ಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಗಿರೀಶ್ ಸರಿಗೆ. Maybe some network issues. Harshlata, you want to tell something? Yeah.
So when I grow up, even I want to become a children's specialist. Like
Children's specialist?
Yes,
Tirthu beta, you can't sleep at all. Huh? Let me tell you. There is no easy children's specialist. The children cry the whole night and then you're stuck dealing with them the whole night, okay? You forget about sleep. You get diabetes and BP and cholesterol like me.
Miss, for Miss job, dedicate our sleep only.
Good.
Miss, I am asking that do not give that your friends list to Archana, miss.
Why, Girish?
Miss, our list code is miss nimu kodbedi ande miss.
Okay, okay.
And I want to keep the small health camps in the poor villages for the free health camps for the poor people so that they can also come and like
Absolutely.
even they can.
Absolutely. You must do that because we all do that. We've all had rural postings. I think I have a charity clinic which I do once in a week where there are only poor patients. We make sure that they get everything free. You must do that. You have to give back to the society.
Ma'am, where does you stay?
Who asked that? Sorry, we couldn't hear.
Hemashri, ma'am.
Yeah, what did you ask, Hemashri?
Where does ma'am stay?
Where does ma'am stay? Ma'am stays in Mumbai. Have you been to Mumbai? Don't come. It's got a lot of COVID. Come next year.
Miss, we want to come there. We want to have a COVID certificate. And come there after 14 days quarantine and come to see you.
Don't come. You'll come here. You'll get COVID anyways, even if you don't have it now. Just don't come till COVID is over. Okay. Mumbai is a horrible place. Pune is the next horrible place. And the worst place in India is Delhi. Don't go there also.
Miss, that's why I
Here
live
it's much better.
village, miss. Village is a safe place. Ma'am, from there we want to wear a mask and irritate, ma'am. People are coming near. Here, some when we go outside, that time we want to wear mask, and so many people do not come near. When we go outside, then only we made them, ma'am.
Very true.
Yes, Girish. Thank you for that. So I think yeah, we'll call it a wrap. Thanks a lot, Dr. Mithali, for spending over an hour with our kids. And you would have seen the enthusiasm. It is infectious. I'm sure if I had let them, it would have gone on for half an hour more, asking all their
that's okay.
questions.
We've already got one more question. See, when will this COVID go? I don't know, darling. I think I am more than eager to get rid of it. I had thought it will go by December, but it just seems to be growing here. Abhi, what can I say?
Anyway, thanks again, ma'am, for doing this for us.
It's been my pleasure entirely.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for the talk. I think it would have given a great perspective for the students because every day they listen to only lessons. This is totally different.
I know. No, it's been fun. It's been a real eye opener for me also. I mean, I don't really dwell on what happened in my past, but yeah, it's been nice to not talk about science for once and interact with younger people. So all my patients are usually very, very old.
Thanks a lot, everyone
And the
else.
medicine, I don't know when the medicine is already here, but the vaccine is not here. So when the vaccine comes, you take the vaccine, okay?
Thanks again, everyone, for coming
My
and joining
pleasure.
us.
I hope you all have a good day. I'll sign off now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks, ma'am.
thank you very much. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Okay, thanks, everyone. You were a great crowd, actually. So meticulously, everybody knew their questions, and it was nice. So it looked like it was a good session. Thanks, Ram. Thanks, Sumant. And thanks to everyone who joined us.
Thanks.
Amazing
Thank
bunch
you.
of kids. Yeah. See you all. Bye.